The Rocket Takeover is here in Pokemon Go, and we have brand new shiny shadow Pokemon coming from the leaders, so I'm going to give you the complete lineup and what lineups are in your best interest to choose. So, welcome to the Trainer Club. Here we go! Welcome back, everybody. We have this Rocket Takeover going on in Pokemon Go. Number one, if you want the tips, you can check out the video up here, and you can even check that out towards the end of the video. But most importantly, what I want you guys to make and focus around this video is that we do have leader Pokemon that have shifted up that we did talk about a little bit. We have the complete lineups that we will go on later in the video, but we have the confirmation of which Pokemon are coming from shinies in the Rocket Grunts, which is going to include 5 Pokemon that we do know as of right now. So these Pokemon is what it looks like they have already been premiered through the Rocket leaders, because we have Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, then we also have the Grimer, and then we have the Mawile. So for a grand total of 5. So it doesn't look like we're going to get any type of brand new shiny shadow Pokemon coming through the Rocket Grunts. But if the Rocket Grunts do have the shiny shadows from the previous, they will not revert back to non-shinies. It seems now that once the leaders do have those Pokemon and they have become shinies through the leaders, and if they are ever encountered through the Rocket Grunts, you will be able to get them. So now let's start getting into all of the Rocket Grunts that are out right now, which ones may be in your best interest. So starting off, we have Go My Super Bug Pokemon. So this has typically in the past been Weedle, but as of right now, we do have the ability to get Shuckle, Skorupi, or Joltik right off the bat. So as far as these Pokemon, the best ranked of all of them is going to be the Shadow Galvantula, which is going to be in the Ultra League. It's going to be ranked 74. It's going to need to be a 100% IV to be able to get it all the way to level 50. Yes, it will need 360 Exo Candy with a whole lot of Stardust to be able to use this Pokemon. And also Beedrill and Weedle will be available here, so if you do encounter those are 1,000 per Purify, so they're great to save up for tasks or even contribute towards your medal for a whole lot less Stardust. And then next, in Get Ready to Be Shocked, we can have Mareep, we can have Blitzel, and then we can also have the Shinx. So these are going to be the one going in here. Obviously, go in with a ground type Pokemon for these. And the best ranking of these is going to be the Luxray. That's going to be ranked 89 in the Ultra League at a 0-15-15. And then next, we have the Fire, which is going to be, do you know how hot Pokemon's breath can be? Okay, so this one can give you either a Numel, a Torchic, or we can also get a Vulpix. So for this one here, Torchic is going to be a new Pokemon. Unfortunately, it's not really the best as far as any Pokemon goes. As far as a meta attacker, it will actually be ranked 9th overall in the Fire category, which is pretty impressive, but it's going to be an Extreme Glass Cannon. And then as far as the camera up goes, just remember we do have a Mega Camera Up at some point, which will be positive for not really anything beyond just having a dual typing here. And then we have these Waters Are Treacherous, which is going to be either a Psyduck or a Whelmer. And then next we have will be defeated into a Ground, which is going to be a Phanpy, which is a brand new shadow Pokemon in here. And then also you can get a Hippopotas. Unfortunately for the Donphan, it doesn't really sit in the top meta attackers. It will be ranked 18th overall, so not too bad, but not too crazy there. But as far as the Hippowdon, that's actually going to be ranked 94 in the Master League, so that is something that you could consider, but you're going to want to get as close to a hundo as possible there. And I'm just going to pause here real quick and say that although this is not reported by Sylph as of right now, these Waters Are Treacherous, I would check to potentially see if that Grunt is going to be a Squirtle. I don't really like the Psyduck or the Whelmer, but if there was a Squirtle, it can be a shiny. And then if you want to see how hot these Pokemon's breath can be, which is going to be a potential, obviously, fire Pokemon, I would still check that one as well, just in case that the Charmander does come up. But as of right now, it is not reported in Sylph that they are under these tasks, but I would be safe rather than sorry. And then we have Check Out My Cute Pokemon, which can be either a Snubbull, which goes into Granbull, it can be a Ralts, which can go into Gardevoir or Glade, and then it could be the Mawile. And just remember that the Mawile can be shiny coming out of this Grunt. And the Shadow Gardevoir coming through here is going to be actually ranked 102, and the Shadow Gardevoir is one of the top 10 fairy type attackers in the game, but it is going to cost a lot of Stardust to power that Pokemon up. And then we have this buff physique isn't just for show. I would assume that at some point we will be able to get a Machop in this one, but as of right now, Machop is one of the newer shiny shadows, so as of right now, it is not available from the Grunts, but at some point it may come into this one. Right now it is going to be Hariyama. And then next we have Don't Tangle With Us is going to throw into Trico for this one. We can also get Cacnea or Oddish. So let's talk about the Trico because it goes into Shadow Sceptile, which actually is quite crazy. As far as an ER value, the top grass attackers are going to be Mega Sceptile, then we're going to go Kartana, Mega Venusaur, but then in the first non-mega, non-legendary place, it is a Shadow Pokemon, which is above now Zarude. It is going to be the Shadow Sceptile with Fury Cutter, Frenzy Plant at 41.8. So this Pokemon is extremely strong and is definitely one that you might want to consider trying to get. And then the normal does not mean weak. For me, that means that you're going to get a 1000 per purified Pokemon because it can be a Wishmer, it can also be a Patrat, or it can be a Pidove, and all three of those Pokemon are going to be 1000 per purify, so I would suggest just doing this task and saving those 1000 per purifies for either future rocket tasks. Obviously you don't need to have 100 of these, maybe 10 or so would be fine, or if you're trying to get the medal, this would be great to go after and to purify. And then we have Coiled Up and Ready to Strike. Looks like it's going to be exclusively a Grimer encounter unless you get the tier 2 rewards, because just remember, the second place Pokemon can always be a reward here as I do go through them. If you do see them, you can get them, but Grimer can be shiny here. And then Don't Bother, I've already won, actually is going to be the Squirtle encounter. So if you do see this one, I would highly suggest that you guys go after this task. Squirtle can be shiny, which is quite cool. However, the Don't Bother, I've already won can also be a Shadow Snorlax as well. Shadow Snorlax is actually ranked 91 in the Great League. In the Ultra League, it's going to be ranked 85, and in the Master League, it's going to be ranked 30. So this one, albeit definitely can be a challenging task because there are some challenging Pokemon. You could even get multiple Snorlaxes in this Rocket Grunt, but it is going to be an effective one. And then we have You're Going to Be Frozen in Your Tracks, which could be in a Alolan Vulpix, or it can also be in Abomasnow. The Shadow Ninetales is actually ranked 21 in the Great League, which is very impressive. And then in the Ultra League, it's actually going to be ranked 30, so this Pokemon is extremely impressive as a Pokemon. In the Great League, it's going to be a 0-14-12, and in the Master League, it'll be a 7-15-15 all the way at level 50, so it's going to require Stardust and XL Candy here. And in the Great League, the Abomasnow is going to be ranked 33 at a 0-15-15, and ranked 26 in the Ultra League at a 3-15-14, so that Grunt is very effective. And then we have Battle Against My Flying type Pokemon, which can be either a Ducklet or a Natu. Are You Scared of Any Pokemon with Unseen Powers, which can be either a Natu or it can also be a Spoink. The Let's Rock and Roll can be the Shadow Onyx. In the Ultra League, the Shadow Steelix will be ranked 7 at a 2-15-15, which is an impressive Pokemon, man. There are some really impressive Shadows out there right now. And then we have Roar, How Does That Sound, which can be a Dratini encounter. Dratini is a very, very powerful meta attacker. So as a Dragonite in the Shadow form, it is very strong dragon. However, in the Great League, it's going to be ranked 45 at a 3-15-14. In the Ultra League, it will be ranked 35 at a 0-13-15. And in the Master League at a Shadow, it's ranked 22, but it's outbeaten by the regular at a rank 7. But another very efficient Rocket Grunt there. And then we have Wherever There Is Light, There Will Be Shadow, which will be the Alolan Grimer. These Waters Are Treacherous can be the Shadow Gyarados. The Shadow Gyarados in the Ultra League can be ranked 92 at a 0-15-14. And then in the Master League, it can be ranked 14. Very impressive there. And then There's No Match for My Iron Will can be an Alolan Diglett there. So that's going to be all the Rocket Grunts. There's some impressive Pokemon out there. And I did not see the Charmander in there. So that is not the coolest thing. And I didn't see the Bulbasaur either, but at the same time, it may make an appearance somewhere in here and pop up later. Which then leads us into the Rocket Leaders. The first Pokemon is going to be the Arlo. That's going to have Teddiursa up front, so that's going to be a normal type Pokemon. Then we do have Hypno, Blaziken, and Golurk. So this Pokemon can be taken down, all of these, by the Lucario with the second charge move of having Power Punch for 1 and then Shadow Ball as number 2. And then we do have Scissor, Banette, and Luxray. So having and look at some of these other Pokemon, having a Reshiram in here would be extremely effective, or you can also throw in a Groudon in there as well to be able to help you handle this, or if you even want to get a little bit even dicier, you can throw in an Excadrill with that Mud Slap is very strong here. And then next we do have the Cliff Team Total. So Cliff is going to have the Larvitar. This is one of my favorite Pokemon to be able to go after here because brand new shiny Shadow and it looks amazing, and the Shadow Tyranitar is quite strong as a rock attacker. So obviously Larvitar is going to be quite weak up front because it is a rock type attacker and a ground. It will be double weak to water, so that's something you're going to look out for. But then we do have Skarmory, Kingdra, as well as Sceptile, which would be very well handled with any type of ice type Pokemon. So you could go in there with a Shadow Mamoswine, power up that Power Snow Avalanche combination, and you would be able to blow some shields, and then coming into the next one with an Avalanche from a Shadow Pokemon or even a regular Mamoswine would do quite a bit of damage here. In the next lineup, more than likely it will be Tyranitar, but there can also be a Swampert and a Gyarados. So for these Pokemon, obviously the Tyranitar gets very, very handled with any type of fighting type will take it down quite significantly. Gyarados will be pretty strong as a Pokemon, but Gyarados would be double weak with electric, so you could even go in with your other Pokemon because it will be neutral to the ice. So with the Mamoswine, it would be able to be charged up pretty fast. It would hit that Pokemon pretty hard, but Gyarados with Waterfall will take down that Mamoswine quite easily. But at the same time, like I said, double weak to electric here, so you could use any type of electric attacker. Something like a Xurkitree would work quite well here. And then on to the next Pokemon. We do have Sierra's team, and this Pokemon will be the Shadow Murkrow. So Shadow Murkrow will go into Honchkrow. It is one of the top dark attackers in the game, but is very glassy, so I'm not overly convinced with this Pokemon. For me, it's a shiny Dex entry to get. For the second one, it's going to Steelix, it's going to have Swampert, or it could have the Staraptor. For me in here, if you have Terrakion with Smackdown, and then it does have 2 charge moves, so it could be Rock Slide, and then it can also have Sacred Sword, and if you have all these Pokemon, can take down any of the first ones here. And then going into the next round, it will also take that down as well. So you could start off with something like, I would do a Lucario with Power Up Punch. I would power it up, I would waste a shield, and then I would do another one and waste another shield, and then I would switch that into a Terrakion, and Terrakion will wipe out the rest of the team, which is then going to lead us into the final battle of Giovanni. Giovanni will start off with a Persian. So Persian here, for me, I always start off with a Melmetal. I get to a charge, I waste a shield, and then I switch right into a Lucario after I get a couple power-ups there. After I get a couple quick moves, I'll get into that Lucario. So the Lucario can come through, and it can easily handle this and start powering up itself. And then I can have Nidoking, Kingler, and Kingdra. So these Pokemon would be quite well handled with an electric type, except for the Nidoking. So if you are able to really have a powered up Lucario and go through here, it would be quite effective. But let's look at some other options here. You could use a Kyogre with Surf or Origin Pulse, and then have a secondary charge move of Blizzard, and that would handle the Nidoking, or it would also handle the Kingdra, as that is going to be a Dragon type combination. And then finally, we have the Regice, and Regice is easily handled with that Lucario, or it could also be handled with a Shadow Machamp. So those are going to be all of the Grunts and the Rocket leaders in Pokemon Go. I would strategize. Obviously, I love going after the Roar, even though it is not a very common one because Dragonite is so very strong. Also, going after the strategy for the Giovanni, check that out up here if you guys do want to see how to stock up on Rocket Radars going to the future, and we correct our imbalances here if we have any of those. We have gone past the first page of any of that research. And then finally, I would look to some of the shiny shadows coming from the Grunts, and then obviously, as far as the leader goes, Cliff is going to be my recommendation. So thank you guys for tuning in as always. To all my likers, comments, subscribers, Patreon members, everybody takes your support, subscription, and participation to the next level. I'm going to see you guys out in the next video. Peace. I want to take this time to thank everybody who supports me in every facet. It means the world to me, and an extra special thank you to all my Patreons. I greatly appreciate the extra support to continue to allow me to pursue Pokemon Go full time, allowing me to create my daily video uploads in the most timely fashion for everyone's benefit. Plus, I get the amazing experience of sharing my creative processes behind the scenes and raiding all around the globe with select upper tiers. Thank you everybody for being a part of the Trainer Club. You all mean the absolute world to me, and I will see you guys out on the next video.